What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, party people? It's your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer, former first round pick with the Kansas City Royals. Give me this best knowledge when it comes to youth baseball and now softball. All right. Helping kids all around the country with that maximum exposure, giving the kids opportunities and helping them get into schools. All right. So your boy, Coach D Brown, is here, man. And this is a sort of a homecoming type of thing, man. This is something where there's very few times that I get to, talk to guys that I'm, to understand, the location where I'm from and the pain and the ups and downs and making it to the major leagues. All right. Now my boy here went a different route and started coaching girls and girls softball, which is a whole, I'm sure I'm going to ask him about that, what I'm saying, a whole different beast on that type of side where I went into to coaching on the boys side and helping kids get across, get kids into schools, man. But I've heard a lot about this, this guy, he's a little older than me. So I was able to look up to him, coming from the same area. And, but without further ado, I got Marist, softball head coach Joe Ausanio joining us today. Coach, what's up, family? How you doing, man?
Hi, D. Good to have you, man. Good to be here.
Appreciate it, man. So, like I said, man, you're my second guest, second one this year, third overall of 2+ years of putting these coaches. I've had over 110 college baseball coaches on, and you're my third softball coach, man, which I appreciate it. But you're in a unique situation, man. You're one of the, a coach that, I mean, boys and girls don't matter. You know what I'm saying? One of the few guys that've been there and done that all the way to the top, played in the big leagues, man. So I'm not going to share your story. You know what I'm saying? I want you to. So if you could, I have all my guests when they come on, take me to the beginning, where you from, playing career to being the head coach at Marist College up there in New York.
Well, first of all, you're too kind because when I heard about you and Rob Bell and the baseball talent that was in Marlboro, New York, where you came from, I had so many scouts tell me how talented you were. So I appreciate the accolades, but I think people need to know just how talented of a baseball player that Dermal Brown was. And I wanted you to know that I was a big fan of yours and obviously rooted for you to do well. And I was pretty thankful that I didn't have to face you. So that was a good thing for me. But yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Hudson Valley, right where Dermal grew up. I grew up in Kingston, New York, about 20 miles north of Marlboro. And I got drafted out of high school by the Atlanta Braves. I ended up not signing. I ended up going to Jacksonville University in Jacksonville, Florida to play baseball. And I didn't get drafted again until my senior year. I think, you know, how some of those scouts, you know, they're just not sure if you're signable as a junior. And I ended up getting drafted in the 11th round by the Pittsburgh Pirates and got to spend 5 years with them and 2 of them in big league camp on the 40-man roster. So I got to play with Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla, and back when the Pirates were really good, legit players. And I always tell people that I don't, not kind of getting off topic a little bit, but when I think of Barry Bonds and how the media has portrayed him, I got to know Barry as a person, and I remember bringing my son. I had just had my first son, Joey, and I brought him into the locker room, and Barry just took him and said, "Give me that kid." And I'm looking, I'm like, well, where are you going with him? Barry was just that kind of guy. And the next thing I know, Joey starts yanking on Barry's gold chains that were worth more than everything I probably made in my lifetime. So I said, "Barry, you got to give him back to me." And, Barry, he was just so talented and so gifted. And, I just feel bad because to me, he is probably the greatest player that's ever played the game. And for him not to be in Cooperstown, to me, is just a travesty. And so getting off topics, I just, when I think of Barry, I feel bad because of what he accomplished on the field, whether or not, he had performance enhancing, drugs or not. I mean, I tell everybody that Hall of Fame is not it's not as hallowed ground as people think it is, and as you probably know from our experience and what you and I both know from the inside circles.
Yeah, a lot of people in the Hall of Fame that I very recently that I ain't gonna say I know 100%, but I have a pretty good idea that they were on some stuff too, but they still made it. So I agree. It is what it is. it ain't a popularity contest, but sometimes these voters make it out to be, So
Well, I wish I had a ballot because he'd be on that ballot for sure. First name I put on there.
best hitter I've ever seen in person and played against in my lifetime. And I played, Pujols, Manny, A-Rod, hands
Griffey
down.
Jr.
Yeah, hands down, best hitter ever.
Yep,
Ever. And I
100.
ain't playing them in smaller spaces, but I mean, just to, I'm impressed. But,
100%. But
coach, man,
anyway, to continue
yeah.
on, I then got drafted by the Pirates. I was the Pirates for 5 years. Ended up getting Rule 5 drafted by the Expos, who are now the Nationals, and then ended up getting Rule 5 again by the Yankees, and that's where I got my big break. I was in AAA pitching, and I was closing out games. And luckily, Matt Noakes came down on a minor league rehab assignment, and I ended up closing out a couple games that he caught. And he came up to me, he goes, "Man, you got great stuff." He goes, "You're as good, if not better, than everybody we got in the big leagues." And I said, "Yo, bro, when you get back up there, tell them that because." And next thing I know, I get a phone call, and I'm pitching in Seattle against Griffey Jr. A week later, and so it was a great experience. And you as well as I know how not only you have to be good, but you have to be lucky to get that time in the big leagues and have the right people like you and have the right people give you that opportunity. So I always appreciated that opportunity, and I'm ready to talk about some softball when you're ready.
I mean, I love that, man. That was I mean, I just think it just solidifies, the background that you have. And obviously, we're going to talk softball, but you're one of the few guys. If I'm probably, I don't think I could talk to 100 coaches, but I don't think I'll talk to too many that's played in the major leagues. Hell, the same thing with the boys' side. You know what I'm saying? So
I appreciate that, bud.
Very few. So now, how did it come about to the point where you finish your career, and tell me a little bit about that side. How did you get into start coaching softball? How did that come about?
Well, what happened was after I retired, I went to school. I was a kinesiology and a physical education major in college, and
Wow.
uh, I realized that I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't love the teaching aspect of being in the schools. And so, I was looking to do some stuff after I retired. I ended up working for Cellular One, which is now AT&T, and I was selling cell phones, and I was doing pretty good at it, but it was just a burnout type of job. And
Mm-hmm.
then I started doing some color commentating for the Hudson Valley Renegades, the minor league team here in Fishkill, New York. And I just remember looking around saying, "Man, this is pretty cool. It'd be pretty neat to be on this side of the game, already having been on the other side of the game." And next thing I know, I call them and I say, "Hey, I'd be looking to get into the game at this on some type of front office position," and they didn't have anything available. And then I got a call from them and said, "Hey, do you know anything about food and beverage service?" I was like, "No, but I'm willing to learn." So I took the food and beverage job here at the Renegades, and I've been here since 1999. But that segues into how I got into softball, because we would host the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference baseball tournament every year here. So I got friendly with the Marist athletic director, Tim Murray, and we became friends, and we'd always talk strategies of baseball. And I started, believe it or not, umpiring softball, and I was like, "Wow, why do they do things this way? It doesn't make sense to me, because we know the baseball way."
Right.
And I just remember saying, "Man, I think that they could be more efficient if they did things this way." And I would always, talk to the AD about that. And he said, "Hey, I hired a young, new coach, and I'd love for you to mentor her and work with her." And so I did that. I was an assistant coach for a year, but then I realized that, I didn't love doing it. It was just not the right fit for me. So, fast forward about a year later, I get a call in late August that that coach had taken a new position elsewhere. And, he had asked me to see if I could get him through the fall season until he could hire a coach. And that was back in 2008. And I've been there ever since. So it's been a fun ride.
I did not even know that. That's crazy. When I saw you, I was like, "He's at Marist. That's crazy." So I love how I want to kind of get into that, strategy, because you you wanted to, like, again, I'm gonna keep going back, that can tell me the difference here and there. So when you are talking strategy with the AD over there and getting on the field and umpiring and kind of getting that on the field firsthand, what are some of the differences that you see in softball and that you don't see in baseball, or vice versa?
Well, I mean, differences that I saw that we don't implore, because there was a lot of that.
You
Like,
said
for
what
instance,
again? I missed that. I'm sorry. I was talking over you.
no, I said differences that I saw that we really don't implore, or just differences that I saw that I said that's got to change. That type
Right.
of stuff. Like, one of the biggest things is, on steal coverages, we cover baseball. I mean, we 90% of the time we're covering with our second baseman. Because you have these things in softball called lefty slappers, where they're running through the box and just kind of. I compare them to Ichiro in baseball, where Ichiro would kind of just run and just try to beat the ball on the ground and beat it out.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. It's hard to cover steals with your shortstop in softball, because you can't really leave and vacate that whole left side of the infield. And cutoffs and relays. I saw first baseman coming over to cut off on a base hit to left field, and I'm like, what is this nonsense? Your third baseman's right there. Let's just use her. Pitchers not fielding balls. I had a coach tell me that this pitching circle is their home and they need to stay home, and I'm like, no, we need to recruit athletic kids to field the ball and help out. Just little things like that. Strategies. We hit and run a lot. We fake bunt steal. We do a lot of baseball stuff. Run and hit and run. Fake squeeze steals. We do a lot of safety squeezes. You don't really see that a lot in softball, and it works because a lot of the coaches aren't used to seeing that. So it obviously it gets on our scouting reports, and then they try to prepare for it. But when you're not seeing it all the time, it's not easy to prepare for that stuff. And I kind of coach. My philosophy of coaching is kind of how when I pitched, and you can relate to this, because there was nothing I hated more when I was on the mound. And most of the time I would come in with runners on, but there was nothing I hated more knowing that runner was running and I was going to make a good pitch, and my fielders could be out of position if I make a good pitch. And I love to put pressure on teams, and love to, make them make plays, and hopefully, incite them to make mistakes.
So that's information, man. I know that I'm learning about the softball side of things.
Sure.
And so, but let's get into the school. All right.
Okay.
Obviously, I haven't been there a long time, but I actually know where it is. But for my listeners, they may not know, where is Marist College located. You mentioned before the conference that you're in, but if you could talk about the level, what division Marist is.
Yep.
Where is it located at, and the conference you guys play in?
Sure. Well, Marist College is located in Poughkeepsie, New York, and we're situated right on the Hudson River. The campus, if you go online at www.marist.edu, the pictures are just breathtaking. The school is absolutely gorgeous, and we also have a campus in Florence, Italy, and part of our kids program is that they can actually study in Florence in the fall of their junior year as part of their scholarships. So it's really cool that we get to have that little nugget that a lot of schools don't have. But we play in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. We're a Division I institution, and we've been fortunate enough to win a couple championships in the past 6 years. We've been to the NCAA tournament twice in the last 6 years, and we've been the conference championship for the last 7 years. So we have a pretty good thing going, but the competition is always getting better, and playing in our conference, it's very tough. We have a lot of parity in our conference, and a lot of schools are good, and there's no cakewalks in our conference. So we've been mandated to a 40-game conference schedule this year. We're not doing any out of conference. There's no spring break. There's no flights for any of us. But we're hoping to have a 40-game season, because last year our season was halted on March 10th, I believe it was. And we were already 19 games into our season last year, and we were doing good. We were 10-9, and we played 3 top 30 teams in the country. We played Arkansas twice and Texas Tech, who were both ranked. And we took Texas Tech to 9 innings. We lost 2-1 in 9 innings. My freshman pitcher threw a 4-hitter. So, we're competitive and we can compete with all the big boys. It's just it's hard. In softball, 11.9 scholarships is fully funded, and we have about 7 at Marist. So, I have to find the right balance of kids who can get academic money, and poor, smart kids are good for me because they can get some financial aid. Or just kids who can afford the tuition fees, which is right around $60,000.
All right. Now I'm glad you said that, because I was trying to ask the other day. I was trying to figure out how many. So you guys are a fully funded institution. Is Division I is 11.9 scholarships, with baseball is 11.7, right?
Correct.
And you said that going to Marist is 60,000. Now let me ask you this: so if you could just educate everybody, including me.
Sure.
So baseball is Division II is 9 full scholarships, and then Division III doesn't have scholarships, athletic scholarships. So what is it when it comes to softball?
As far as what? Division II?
How many Division II? If you could help me out. I know you guys.
I believe Division II is 7.6 scholarships, and then Division III is the same. It's mostly aid, need-based aid, and endowment type of scholarships from the Division III schools. But yeah, so Marist is the good thing about Marist too, for me, as an easy sell point, is it's ranked as one of the top 300 schools in the country. If you look at some of the Forbes, the Princeton Review, all of the people who rank colleges, they all rank Marist very highly. So the school kind of speaks for itself. The education kind of speaks for itself. And, for me, that's the big selling point when you're going on. When you're going on out recruiting, that you can position that to parents, and it makes it really easy for the parents to maybe figure out a way to make it happen. But the good thing for me is, even though I only have about 7 scholarships at Marist, I am able to do what they call stack money. So for instance, if your daughter is smart, she can get academic aid. If you can qualify for financial aid, I can get you financial aid, and then I can, combine that with athletic aid. So I can stack that money, athletic, financial aid, and academic aid, and I can create pretty good packages. And what I try to do, at least, is try to get and cover the kids' tuition. And, for the most part, they have to pay room and board.
Speaking of, room and board and tuition and the amount of kids going there, where are you recruiting from? Is it more of a local base, New York girls, or are you going outside of the, what's your roster look like right now, bro?
We are nationwide, my friend. We have kids from all over the country. We cast out a big net, and that's one of Marist's goals, is to diversify the campus, not only ethnically but geographically as well. And if we can have kids from states that we don't normally get kids, then there is I look good in trying to bring in those types of kids. It's not that I'm against recruiting local kids. It's just, Marist really doesn't give me extra money to get local kids. So, Marist may give me more money for a kid from California or a kid from Colorado than they would for a New York kid, because they're trying to, to make their numbers look good. Same thing with students of color. If I can find students of color who are good softball players, then, I can really put together really good packages for them. So it was funny that you were telling me that you want your daughter to possibly play softball. I'm like, she's got the genes. Let's get it going, brother. Let's go.
I gotta fight with mom. She ain't trying to have it ain't no money in softball. That's how she look at it. You know what I'm saying? So
I hear you. Yeah. That's true.
But
hey, listen, if she becomes a pro tennis player, I'll be the first one at the New York Open. I'll be in that front row with you.
Hey, that's what we trying to do.
At the U.S. Open, I mean.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, but so cool. I mean, so let me ask you this. So I asked young lady this the other day. When it comes to the recruiting side of things, and you being in New York and you're recruiting softball girls from Cali and everything, like, how how do they reach out to you? Is it just videos and normal like what they do with the college? Like how are you communicating? Is there a database or something where you can see these girls?
Well, a lot of times, kids will write to you and, say, hey, I'm interested. A lot of times they'll look at the school first to see if they have what they're looking for. And then, I'll write back and say, okay, send me your travel schedule. And if we can, accommodate seeing you, then we'll gladly try to do that. But for the most part, Jamal, we're flying all over the country to these tournaments. They have these giant tournaments where they'll have 200 plus teams. So it's kind of like one-stop shopping from kids from all over the country. I'll do some local tournaments, but most of the time I'm either in Florida, Colorado, California, Chicago. We have a couple local ones up here in New Jersey and up in Massachusetts where they have, teams from all over the country come. So, like I said, it's kind of like one-stop shopping. And, I will always ask kids for a video because, I will know after watching that video if I want to see the kid play live or not, pretty much 95% of the time. Very few times, kids, kind of sneak through, but, you can tell, as somebody who's been around the game, you can just kind of tell who has that it factor. And, you just kind of hope that translates when you go to see them play. And most of the time, though, I kind of know what I like and what I want. And half the time, if I'm there and there's a bunch of other coaches there, I want them to fail. And that's not being in a mean way. I want to see what they do when they fail, and I want to see, how they handle that. You only have that one chance to make that first impression. If a kid strikes out with the bases loaded, how does she set her bat down? How does she set her helmet down? Does she get back up and cheer for the next kid up? Those are the little intangibles that I'm looking for as a coach. And, it's easy to like the kids that hit the grand slams and high five everybody, but, this game is predicated on failure. You fail, 70% of the time, and you probably have a plaque in Cooperstown. Right. So in softball, it's not much different. I mean, there's not as much open space on a softball field to hit a ball and for a ball to fall in as there is for a baseball field. It's funny because, I'll go over and I'll watch our baseball team after some of our softball games. I'm like, man, this field is huge. I don't want to pitch here. It's way too much open space. So
right. I got a question that came in. Greg says, do you find that players from other states have different skill sets? More slap in one area, or power hitters, or stronger defense in certain areas of the country?
That's a great question, actually. I do find that the kids who get to play all year round seem to be a little bit more advanced on the skill sets of some of the things, such as slapping. I personally look for athletes because I feel like I can teach an athlete to play softball. It's hard to teach a softball player to become more athletic. So I really look for athletic kids, and I do think California seems to be a hotbed for slappers. You have a lot of former Olympians who are coaching out there, and they do private lessons, and they have a lot of good teachers. I think that's one of the things that are hard to find is a lot of good qualified instructors. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of good ones out there, but I think you have to do your research just like anything and try to find the right fit for your child when you're out there looking for an instructor for your child.
All right, good question. Are you big on measurables or skill? Vince asked.
I like both. I'm probably more of a skill guy than a measurable guy because you could have incredible bat speed and not be able to hit the ball. You could have a great launch angle and still not hit the ball. You could have a great vertical. You could run fast, but if you can't put the ball in play, it doesn't help. I've had this discussion with, a couple of the kids that I have recruited who are slappers that are fast and they're excellent slappers, but, they don't stay in the batter's box when they slap the ball. So it does me no good. And you can run like the wind, but if you can't, be legal, and if they're calling you out every time, that doesn't help. But I do understand the measurable part of it. I prefer to find the kids who are more skilled, who I feel like I can help with their measurables.
Speaking of measurables, I wanted to ask this. So the other day, I'm gonna keep going back, but like we do 60s, you know what I'm saying? When the baseball, you remember, and So what's your measurements when it comes to softball? Do you have measurements like that,
Yeah.
or like velo out of the hand for a certain age group, or like how does that, those type of skill sets, the 60-yard dash and the exit velos off the bat, which is the new thing the last few years, like what are some of the measurables when it comes to the softball side?
Well, for me, a lot of it is home to first, contact to contact, 20-yard sprints, because that's what it is. It's 60 feet home to first, it's 60 feet, base to base.
So 20-yard dash.
20-yard dash. Yeah. If you have a good 20, that's kind of what I'm looking for. We don't run 60s, and it's weird that baseball players run 60s. I mean, you're not running 60 feet home to first.
Yeah.
But I think for me, that's the biggest thing is, I always have people make fun of me because I always have my stopwatch in my hand, but that's what I'm doing. I'm timing every kid contact to contact. I want to see how fast they are. And, I want to see if they're dogging it out of the box. I want to, just like I said, I'm looking for those little things, those little intangibles that don't necessarily equate to, being a good softball player or not being a good softball player. It's more or less, is this the right softball player for my program?
All right. Let me get my boy PA, my boy he's the coach over there with the Royals. His wife is the head coach at Mizzou softball. So
oh, Larissa. Yeah, I know Larissa.
Yeah, she said
she's outstanding.
Yeah, so he says that
she gets all his knowledge from him, though, I think, right?
Yeah, or vice versa. I already know. So he was like, he said my wife told me that his, coach does a really good job, and he's a qualified coach doing their thing up in the Northeast. Keep it rolling, Joe. So he's a Long Island guy too. So
yeah, no, I actually asked her a lot. Well, when she was at Hofstra, I saw more of her, just because we would be at a lot of the tournaments. And I would always ask how he was doing, because I know he was coaching with the Nationals for a while.
Yep.
I think he still might be with the Nationals. So I would always ask how he was doing. And I think we're actually in maybe one of the same Facebook groups on Facebook as well, like former minor league players or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, Larissa's actually done a great job at Missouri. And, they had a bad deal at Missouri where, they got banned from postseason for something that just didn't seem right or out of their control. And but I know that she had it going pretty good last year when the season ended as well. She's actually my go-to when I need a rule interpretation. She's like a walking rule book.
Well, listen, she need to come on here.
Yeah, get her on here. She'd be great.
Yeah, PA, he don't, my boy, he don't hook me up, man. You know what I'm saying? You can tell who,
I'll give you her number. I have her number.
Thank you. Because, he's like, oh, I'm going to tell her. That was a month ago. Here it is. I'm bringing on everybody else but her. So, it is what it is.
She'd be really good for the program.
And I want to talk, speaking of rule books and stuff like that. I know a lot of compliance issues and stuff is a little different from baseball. And what are some of the compliance differences that goes on with softball that baseball doesn't have to deal with?
Well, I mean, I think the big thing now, the NCAA has kind of changed the way we can recruit and who we can talk to. Prior to a couple of years ago, it was an absolute free for all, and you could talk to anybody. And coaches were committing 7th graders, and I tell people, these kids. Yeah, these kids don't even know who they want to go to the movies with Friday night, let alone spend 4 years of their life at a school 5 years from now. So it was kind of crazy how that was kind of going down. And we had kind of a big to do few months ago, I would say about 6 months ago over the summer, in regards to the 2022 class, on whether or not we were going to be able to talk to them and offer them scholarships on September 1st. And luckily, I think the right decision was made that we were allowed to actually talk to these kids, and because these kids have worked their entire life to have that opportunity, and I felt that they needed to have that same opportunity as every kid that came before them, and have that same recruiting process and that same recruiting timeline that come September 1, that college coaches could finally start to reach out to them and start the recruiting process with them.
All right. Let me get a couple more questions coming in. How much did the rule change for pitchers keeping their back foot grounded affect your pitchers?
It's actually has been a great rule change. I think our pitchers have been able to be more consistent. My biggest issue with pitching is that you have some umpires who will call illegal pitches and some who won't. And there was a pitcher, I won't name the school, that has an alligator for a mascot, but I won't name the school. But yeah, she would pitch, and I'd watch on TV, and I'd still shot the frame, and she'd be 6 to 8 inches in the air.
Wow.
Pretty much. But I mean, she was the best pitcher in the country, so I think that they just weren't going to call her. But I would ask my umpires, and all my friends who were umpires, or all the my assigner and the people who I'm like, how is this legal? You're calling my girl who has a little toe in the air, and that on the national stage, on national TV, this kid is getting away with every pitch that's not legal. And it's just frustrating that they should either just make it one rule or the other, because when you have ambiguity in whether or not an umpire is going to call it or not, it makes the game very difficult for everybody.
And speaking of like TV and watching it, I mean, I catch myself the last maybe few years watching the softball World Series when it comes on, and it seems like there's some really exciting games, man. I've never really been into softball like that, but you've been around it a long time now. You know what I'm saying? What transition have you seen as far as popularity? Has it been a change, a shift in the popularity, or for TV ratings, as far as girls' participation in it? Has it changed much, or is it going up, down? What have you seen in the last few years since you've been coaching over there?
Demal, it just keeps getting bigger and better. I think that's probably one of the reasons why the NCAA isn't even going to ever consider changing softball from a spring sport to a fall sport, even though we could really start our season with 6 weeks left of summer instead of with 6 weeks left of winter. I tell everybody there's a trivia question, and nobody can believe it when I say it, but it's true, that if I were to say to you, Dermal, what state do you think has the most Division I softball teams? What would you say?
California.
Right. You wouldn't say New York, but it's the state of New York.
Really?
We have the most Division I softball teams in the country.
Wow.
And, but yeah, I had also heard that when the Women's College World Series softball was on, they were outrating the NHL during that time. And I believe that was during when the NHL playoffs were starting. So it's no joke. And let me tell you something. When you see these kids play at that elite level, my jaw sometimes is on the floor, because I got to see the best players in the world play. I mean, it's just watching Ken Griffey Jr. and just watching what Barry Bonds did on a daily basis, and my time with the Yankees playing with guys like Wade Boggs, Don Mattingly, and Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, just the best of the best. And these kids are the best of the best. And I tell kids when I recruit them that you only have 4 years for the rest of your life to probably play this game. So this is your major leagues. And I think it's a good analogy, because, a lot of these girls are big league players.
Shy Holder says, which social media network do coaches rely on most for discovering potential recruits?
There's so many out there, but honestly, I'm on Twitter a lot. A lot of these kids will post videos of themselves on Twitter, and it's almost like their own infomercials. They'll put it out there, hey coach, and sometimes they tag coaches and sometimes they don't. And it's funny, I actually got one of my kids on the team. She was literally tagging every coach in the Northeast but me. I'm like, wait a minute, I want to be tagged. And she's a talented kid, and I ended up schmoozing her, and she committed to us, and she's going to be a Red Fox. But I think Twitter is a platform that, if used correctly, can be used very wisely. And especially if there's certain majors that kids are looking to study. I will say this, though, for all the parents who might be listening out there, one of the very first things I do when I'm recruiting is I look at their social medias and I make sure that they're clean and I make sure that they're doing the right things. And I can't tell you how many kids I have walked away because of their social medias and because of things that they have posted. And I've even had to have this conversation with players on my team that, who are getting ready to graduate, and I would pull up their social media account and I'd just take a screenshot and I'd send it to them. I said, do you really want this out there in 2 months when you're now getting ready to go try to find a job, and some hiring manager or some, human resources person looks at this and says, this is not the person for me. They need to understand how, while social media can be a great tool, it can be a great deterrent as well for not only coaches, but employers for the future.
Yes. All right. Greg says Rachel Garcia is our hometown girl. Do you know who Rachel Garcia is?
Is that the girl at UCLA? I think that's the girl at UCLA. I hope.
I don't know. I thought she was on Marist. I don't know. All right. Vince says, so good to hear you say that, Coach. I think he put that up when you were talking about the girls softball as the major leagues of So the top conferences, what I'm saying? Like, is it kind of like baseball side? Is it just more the SEC, the Pac-12? What are some of are those the big time, conferences when it comes to softball?
Yeah, the Power Fives, obviously, the SEC, the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the Big 12, ACC, and you have some other schools who have really done a good job recently in cracking those those top 20s, top 25. James Madison, who Hofstra, back when Larissa was at Hofstra, they were in the top 25, top 30. They gave some schools all they could handle in the regionals, and there's a lot of other programs. University of South Florida, they're not in a Power Five conference, but Kenny Erickson, who's the head coach there, he always has a solid team, and he's Team USA head coach. But there are so many great programs that have really done well and done justice for themselves. And listen, I think we are all at the point now where we when I say we, meaning the teams not in the Power Five, that if we get a couple breaks and we have the right type of game, we can beat any of the Power Fives. I mean, you just have to get a lucky break, and but I think usually the biggest difference is just the pitching. The pitching in the Power Five is just so elite. And, when you're facing kids, I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to stand in the box against a softball pitcher throwing 65 to 70 miles an hour with a power rise ball. It's pretty tough to lay off of it. And, that's why I really don't say much to my kids when they swing at them. But I just tell them the best way to hit it is not swing at it.
Vince says, how do you handle bad calls with umpires? Coaching, not when you're a player. No, yeah.
Not very well. But usually what I'll try to do is, I let them know that I was an umpire, and mostly in my language. Not so much by me telling them, hey, I used to umpire and I know what I'm talking about. It's more like, if I have a questionable call, I'll go out there and say, hey, is that the right mechanic for that call? Is it possible that you could have been straight lined on that call? Not, hey, you missed that call, you missed her pull her foot. It's more, I will go along the lines of, hey, is it possible that you didn't quite see that? Is it possible that, you could have been straight lined, or is that the correct mechanic? Does that give you the best view of that call? Those types, that's kind of how I argue. And it's served me well. I haven't been thrown out of any games yet, knock on wood.
All right. Greg says, I know that Coach D always emphasized the importance of parents being mindful of the social media posts as well as coaches are recruiting players and parents. All right. Do you do that as well?
100%. I'll show you my little trick, D. This is a good one. I'm gonna get out a piece of paper right now. So if I see crazy parents, and I see them, they're out there. Parents, you need to be mindful of this. It can cost your kid a scholarship. So if I see a crazy parent, I will write 110 next to their name.
What does that mean?
So all I do when I get back to the hotel, they become a no.
Wow.
So So sometimes I have a lot of 110s on my sheet when I'm out recruiting, just because I see crazy parents. And
Wow.
parents who yell at umpires are a big no-no for me, because a lot of times that behavior just doesn't change. And,
Mm,
I think sometimes when the kids see it, they think it's okay. And it's
mm,
just, let the coaches, take care of the umpires, let the coaches coach kids. Parents who are coaching kids while the games are going on, I see a lot of that. For me, that's a no-no. I won't recruit that kid. And
mm,
I always I think the biggest thing for me, Dermal, when I'm recruiting kids, and I tell kids this, I tell parents this when I have camps or clinics,
mm,
recruiting isn't personal. I may absolutely love your daughter, or love her skill set, but I might not have a specific need for that skill set in that particular year, or I
mm,
may not have money for that position in that year. It's not
mm,
that I don't like your child, it's just
mm,
that it might not be the right fit for me at that time. And I
mm,
think if kids understand that and parents understand that, then they will understand that there will be a coach who has a need for your child, and who has
mm,
the money, or who has the position available that they want that child to play for their team. So
mm,
for me, I think that that's one of the biggest things that I try to let people know, that, hey, I love your kid, I just don't have a need for her, and please
mm,
don't take it personally. And it's happened plenty of times this year. I'm not recruiting that many kids for my 22 class. So, there are a lot of kids who I have to pass on, who I absolutely love, and who have come to my camps and clinics, who, you build a relationship, and these kids, they start to like you. You tell them
mm,
a couple stupid dad jokes, and next thing you know, they think you're funny, and they want to come play for you. But
mm.
it's not that I don't want them. It's just that I don't have a need. I don't have the money. And,
Right.
I really, want to make sure that I keep my roster at a manageable size to be able to get kids opportunities to play.
Speaking of the manageable roster size, how has COVID affected your roster sizes and bringing girls back and the incoming classes? What's the normal roster size for you, and how have you had to adjust because of COVID?
Well, I normally carry between 17 and 21 players, depending upon the year. This year I have 21, and of that 21, two of them are walk-ons. So I have kids who, not every kid on my team is on scholarship, but I think the thing that I feel bad for the 22s, the 23s, when I say them, that's their graduating years, that because of COVID, that all of these kids now have gotten this extra year back from the NCAA. So, now I might not have a need for that kid who I really liked and who has come to my camps or clinics. And I'm like, wow, we put them on our board with stars all around their name, and, we need to get this kid. And then all of a sudden, my all conference shortstop now gets an extra year back because of COVID. So
Mm,
now, okay, well, now I can spend my money elsewhere where I may need, have a need. And that's why I think it's important for parents, and especially student athletes, to understand that it's never personal. It's a business, and it's a business for us, and we need to make sure that we all put ourselves in the best possible position to help our team win.
when it comes to recruiting, let's just say the clean slate. Let's just say like 2021 season, you have 17 seniors. All right. Um, how are you building your team out from bottom out? So when it comes to the recruiting side, like what are you looking first? What are you looking to build from the ground
Well,
up?
yeah, obviously, I want to see what I have coming back. And if I have coming back kids who I think can step into those roles of kids who are graduating, then, possibly I'll forego that type of position. But this year, we'll have 6 graduate, and we have 6 coming in. And then the following year, we'll have 4 graduate and 3 coming in. I'm trying to get my roster down just a little bit, because one of my big things that I do, Dermal, is, when we have our preseason tournaments and we go away, and, I try to give everybody at least some type of playing time, just because I think it's important for them to get on that field. And, they all came to college to play. And I kind of run it like a travel ball organization for the first few tournaments, just because, when kids get that call and they need to be ready, at least they have some game experience, and they haven't been sitting on the bench, every game being a cheerleader. Uh,
Mm,
so I kind of get yelled at by some of my assistant coaches at times, because I give too many kids too many opportunities. But I also keep going back to that fact, as a former professional athlete, and as well, you've gone through some slumps where you're like, you couldn't hit, you couldn't hit water if you fell out of the boat. And
right, right.
it's one of those things where I understand that. and I try to let them work their way through it. But at some point, when it comes time for conference, I have to put the 9 best or 10 best on the field that I feel is going to give myself and our team the best chance to win. And this year is going to be more difficult because I don't have those games to give those kids those opportunities this year. So it's going to be a different year in that regard. And I'm sure there'll be some unhappy kids on the team, but I kind of have that saying, we all need to be rowing in the same direction to get that goal. So.
Right. Greg says, what about the dads? Which it's mostly dads that aren't loud and crazy, but are gripping on the fence during the entire game as if they want to jump on the field. I call it the daddy ball club, but they are literally hanging on the fence. I guess when we were talking about the parents.
Yeah, we see those too. I can tell. And honestly, I'm scanning. I'm looking left, right. I always position myself right behind home plate or right in center field so I can watch everything. And I see those types of people as well. And it's hard because as a parent myself, I want my child to do the best that they can. And you may only have that one opportunity. You've been writing to a coach forever, and you may have that one opportunity to do well, and you strike out twice or whatever, and then the parents feel that pressure as well. There's a lot of pressure out there, D, and I feel bad for parents. I feel bad for the kids, and
a lot different when we was coming up, man.
Oh man, it's crazy. That's what I said. I said there was no travel ball. I played American Legion ball. That was my travel ball.
That was it. Yeah.
You went from high school to American Legion, and you hope to get in 30, 40 games during the summer. And if you could catch on with one of the adult league baseball teams, that was fun too. But yeah, I mean,
it wasn't no paying no $2,000+ and traveling around the whole world to play.
2,000. 2,000 is cheap, bro. I know teams that charge upwards of 10,000 to play on their travel teams.
I heard softball is crazy.
It's nuts. I'm in the wrong line of business. I should be on that line of business.
I heard it's a whole different beast out there, man.
I'll fly down to Georgia. We'll put together our own team, all right?
Let's do it. I'm all for it because I trust me. I will be hollering at you because I've been researching this for 2 years now. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's why I'm doing this. Let me see what he says. What if your team is set and scholarships have been allocated, but you see someone that just showed up on your radar and you love them for them to join your team? How do you handle that if your scholarship money is already spoken for?
Well, the first thing I'll do is, because I'm not fully funded, I'll go to my athletic director and say, hey, I found a kid who could be a difference maker for our team. Is there anything that we can do? And a lot of times he's been very good about that. And, I may have to give some back at when other kids' scholarships come up. So for instance, if I have 100,000 to spend that next year and he gives me 20, I'll have to give him 20 of that 100,000 back just to get that kid. So, sometimes it's almost like buying a car, you're doing a little negotiating here and there. But yeah, if it's a kid who I feel could be a difference maker for our program, I will absolutely, try to make an appointment with the athletic director and say, hey, I don't have any money. Or if she's a good student, maybe there's a way that we can get her a great financial aid package or something that, at least could cut into that tuition and fees.
All right. Vince says, do you use the DP flex during the season? If so, how often? And does your pitchers hit for themselves?
Yeah, pretty much. I haven't really recruited many pitchers who can hit. We actually have one coming in this year who, when I say this year, this fall, who will probably be one of the better players in our conference. She's just an elite athlete, and she may have that opportunity to do both. I don't usually like my pitchers hitting when they're pitching, just for fear of getting hit with a pitch, running the bases, any of those things where she could be putting herself at risk for injury. I try to avoid that, especially if I'm doing my job and I have enough kids on that bench who can easily DP for the pitcher, who's usually your flex.
All right. Do you use the DP flex? All right. So, all right.
I use it every game, though. Yeah, we use the DP and the flex every game.
See, you guys are talking this softball talk, okay? So
that's softball lingo, yeah. So basically, the DP is a designated hitter. And basically, the easiest way I can describe this, the flex is your designated fielder. She only plays the field. That's the easiest way to describe it.
So okay. So time out. I didn't even know. I see. I'm learning. I'm like, so in softball, you can have somebody that just plays the field,
Correct, and that's your flex.
and they go in and out, or they have to when they go in, they have to stay. How does that work?
Yeah, they stay in their position. They never hit. They just play the field, and that's usually what the pitcher does. The pitcher's usually your flex. But there are teams who have good hitting pitchers that maybe a
Right.
second baseman is a really good fielder. They'll use her as the flex or I call it the designated fielder. It's the easiest way for a baseball guy to understand it. You have a designated hitter who's the
Right.
DP and the
Right.
designated fielder who's your flex.
Is it 9 hit or 10 hit?
9 hit.
Learning
9 hit,
something.
10 on the lineup card.
10 on the lineup card. Learning something. See, this is why I have you on here. You see what I'm saying? I'm learning something. All day I don't have my notes. Yeah, the other day I have my notes out, but I don't have my notes.
Hopefully I do a good enough job where you invite me back and I can answer more questions for you.
Thank you. Right, because this is I'm learning as we go over here. So all right, and we got a couple more questions. I'm gonna get you out of here, Coach. I appreciate.
Oh, you're fine. I'm good. I don't. My dinner reservation isn't until.
Well, you're fine. I you know like I
gotta go.
Yeah, but you know, speaking of daughters and practices and stuff, that's what I got going on. All right, so but the rosters, as far as I'm naive, but I hear this from the pitching side of things. How many pitchers do you carry, and then how the way I see it, pitchers can always go. No, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I have 4. I have 4 on my team.
Is that pretty common?
4 is a good manageable number for me. I've had 3. 3 is difficult, especially if one goes down. Then if that other one goes down, then you only have one left. But what I do is I try to be very strategic, again, when I'm recruiting, Jamal, and I'll recruit kids who are athletes who have pitched and played positions, so that if I ever have an issue, I literally have 9 kids on my team who could pitch.
I love it. All right. The my boy Vince. I talk with Vince. He's a softball guy. Both his girls play college. I know at least one of them. I think the other one's going into or whatever. But he's a North Carolina guy, and we talked about softball last month. And I was telling him I was going to do this. I was going to start bringing on some softball coaches. So he's laughing at me right now because he's talking all the softball talk. So he's like, he knows that I'm learning as I go over here. So
good.
So shout out to my boy Vince out there in North Carolina. So, but Coach, if you could, man, I know eventually this will get out a whole lot, to a whole different crop of parents in the near future, the way I'm gonna market this. Where can, if somebody's interested, I'm still baffled by the most Division I college softball programs are in New York. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah. All right, let me say this. All right, last question, Woody. All right. Is the new AU League something that has given players a brighter future to play beyond college and make money as a professional?
Yeah, I mean, I think any opportunities for these kids to play out of college are great. And, the Athletes Unlimited, I mean, I would love to see more teams to give more kids opportunities. You just have to have the right markets to be able to support those franchises, and obviously the salaries that they have to pay these ladies to play. But yeah, I've had kids who have had offers to play overseas as well. And all about that. I mean, you've lived that. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for kids to play overseas. But yeah, I would love to see maybe a 20-team professional softball league, just to give, because there's so many of these kids who are so talented and maybe are just a smidge not good enough to play in that professional level. I think it would be great to give as many of these women as many opportunities as we could. So I'm all about Athletes Unlimited, trying to find more franchises to get more girls out on that field.
How long has it been around? I just
it just recently switched over to the Athletes United. There was pretty much a coup, and the players weren't going to play. I believe there was one of the owners for one of the professional softball teams who tweeted out something that I can't remember exactly what was tweeted, but it was something that wasn't favorable to women in sports or something like that. Or it might have been something about the flag standing for the anthem, if I remember right.
That's what it was.
And the players took exception to that, and they pretty much went and just started their own league after that. And, you know, listen, again, I would love to see that whole thing get expanded and just get as many of these talented players out there as possible. But you having worked in the minor leagues, I just know that you have to find communities to support it, attend the games, make it so that it's a viable thing. And it's obvious that TV has gotten on board, so I think it would be great.
All right. Shout out to my boy Lynn out there in Australia. All right. Good to see you on. One of our goals is to grow into softball and give Australian girls more opportunity. So maybe some girls out there, So
I just saw one of the teams in our conference recruited a kid from Australia. She's a pitcher, and I actually watched some of her video. So when I see kids that sign in one of the schools in my conference, first thing I'm doing is looking them up. And she looked really talented. And I've actually softball is actually the national sport of New Zealand. I know the men's softball players are like considered one of the best in the world. So I know that that part of the world, softball is a very big thing. And I think the Australian women might be like the third best team in the world behind Japan and the USA and Canada. They're right there with them. So those four are usually the top four, and there are a lot of talented players in Australia, and I would love to get an Australian kid here. I love the accents, so I'll just have her talk to me.
There you go, Lynn. There you go, Lynn. All right. So speaking of that, so let's just say somebody wants to get a hold of you, Coach. You know what I'm saying? Yep. What's your Twitter handle? I'll post it over here. What's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, you can. Our Twitter handle's at Marist Softball. Very easy.
All right. Coach, I want you to take us out with a message, and think of that message. I always have my guests do this, but think of that message as I say my little. All right. That looks about right, Coach.
What's that?
Does that look right?
Let me see here. I gotta put. Yep, that's right.
All right, cool. All right.
I had to put my glasses on.
See, Coach. All right.
I can't read anymore.
I can't. I'm not even gonna laugh no more because I'm feeling a little effects myself, and I usually I'm like but I can't even. Sometimes I'm thinking if I might be going down that line, on that road very soon. So, but anyway, if you could, Coach, I want you to take us out with a message in a minute. But parents, I want everybody to have a great weekend. We are packed next week with we have 2 more softball coaches on Monday, Tuesday. We have Presbyterian University head coach coming on, and then we have Samantha. She went to Marlboro. Samantha
DeMartine.
Yeah, she's Moorhead.
Moorhead. Yeah, I knew it was Kentucky.
Yeah. So Monday and Tuesday we got some more softball, and then end it. We get some more baseball in here, so I don't lose everybody. You know what I'm saying? And just while I'm bringing on this softball, but they've said they didn't want to hear this. So trust me, there's a reason why you guys are here. But so we got a fun-filled packed week next week. Parents, again, I put the post up, the link up there yesterday. February 21st, Sunday in Atlanta, Georgia, we are hosting our second one of the season, our showcase. You saw the posting of my boy Malachi Gilbert, who signed with Alabama A&M, came to my showcase months ago and got signed. We had 6. Coach, we had a showcase a couple weekends ago. We had 6 kids get offers at the showcase.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, and 9 total since then. So total. Come get this exposure. We have pro scouts, college coaches, and we are live streaming this. So I expect to see a great turnout out there. In Alabama, we had 11 states represented. So I want to see what Georgia, presents itself with, and we should have a great time out there on Sunday, February 21st. The link to it is right here. We had a few people sign up today. Appreciate it. Blessings. You'll be grateful for the opportunity. Trust me, with everybody that's should be there. All right. So sign up. You'll see the postings and marketing all around the Atlanta, Georgia area coming. All right. So, Coach, if you could, all right. I want if you could just take us out with a great message, man. You being on all levels. Obviously, you're a D1 softball coach now, man. But you've been to the tippy top where most of these audience, the most of the people that listen to us, they want their kids to be where you were at. You know what I'm saying? So you could go from all angles. Obviously from a coach to, but obviously you played in the major leagues, man. So if you could give us a strong message, man, I would appreciate it, man.
Okay. Well, obviously, I always go back to, like I said, the recruiting thing, it's never personal. But if I could give any message to parents is let the kids be the kids, let them do their own recruiting stuff. I can't tell you how many emails I get from parents, but it's got the kid's name on it because, on the iPhone, it says the parent's name. Let them have their own email account. Let them do their own research. Let them write. Let them do everything. I assure you that will go a long way to coaches. If they think a parent is writing an email, a lot of times it just gets, disregarded. So let your kids be kids. Enjoy the moment. If they have a bad day, encourage them. Don't get down on them. Say, hey, today wasn't your day. Tomorrow. That's the beautiful thing about baseball and softball. There's always tomorrow. In football, you had to wait a week to play. In softball, you're back out there the very next day. So fortunes can change in a heartbeat, and just be as supportive as you can.
Good deal. Great message, Coach, man. And I appreciate it, brother, man. Thank you so much for taking out your time, man. I know, you packed in with snow out there, crazy right now. I remember those days, brother. But man, I've been blessed to have known about you and knowing now my first time. It's kind of the first time really kind of communicating. And of course, I followed you since being in high school, and Rob and both of us, following you and your career. It's good to meet, on this type of level and help educate, my listeners and mainly myself. I will be in contact, no doubt about it. I will be using you as a resource, as I navigate the softball world. And
anytime, my friend. And don't forget, you owe me a DB hat. I want a DB hat.
That's right.
I need to cover this forehead, bro. Look how big this forehead is.
I meant to wear one today, but I got a fresh cut, so I was like, yo, let me, so I will send the DB hat. I get asked so much. I know I'm such a terrible, I don't even know what to call it, a business person, because I get asked all the time, and I'm like, I got to get these hats.
Listen, it's marketing, bro. It's marketing.
I got gear, I got all of this, and my mind is on showcases, blah, 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 and everything else, leaving stuff on the table left and right, man. So, but anyway, I appreciate it, brother. I thank you for coming on. I will be calling you, man. I've been reaching out to you, man, and
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, parents, 4 p.m. Eastern Monday. We right back at it. All right. Presbyterian head coach will be softball head coach will be joining us, and we're just keeping his knowledge and his thing going, man. So you guys have a great weekend. All right, Coach Tony, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you, my dude. Parents, 4 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Have a great weekend. Peace and love.